just for your information. Great, you've read the notification. So for this year team, towards a thriving civil society in terms of uncertainty, we really wanted to focus on the current crisis that the sector is facing and really explore what steps can be taken to collaborate, to become more agile and develop some roles that are more future fit. And for the center, as a convener, is pivotal to be able to create spaces where we can share insights, learn from each other, and really understand how we can strengthen the ecosystem. And to this end, in the first session, really wanted to take time to look at different ways to collaborate and how collaboration is critical to civil society in these times, obviously, of disruption and of intersecting crisis, but also to improve upon our work, making sure that it can be as useful, as supportive as possible to the communities that we aim to serve. And really understand that we can explore different partnerships, look how we can embody decolonial principles and engage movements and other non-organized actors. So during this session, really want to deep dive a bit more into some of the ideas and insights and topics that were broached during the fireside chats in interactive way. So let's make this session as engaging, as lively as possible, and feel free to drop comments and reflection in the chat throughout the session as well. And if you wish to also engage on social media, you can do that with the hashtag Global Perspectives, and you can tag us on LinkedIn or on any other social media platform of choice. So to start, we'll use a Slido as a medium to really engage more the audience. And in the first place, we would like to understand who's here in the room today. So we really want to understand what kind of organization you are representing. You can join Slido through the QR code that you now find on the screen, or you can join on the website. Go to slido.com and you can add the code. The idea was that we really want to weave together some of the topics that we just heard from Gemma and Amitabh, and really deep dive into what are your experiences and really understanding how we can also maybe foster some different ideas on how to go about collaboration and collective action. So we start with the first question to really understand what kind of organizations you represent. We have some options here on the screen, but there is also an other option. So if you represent maybe a non-formal organization, a mutual aid group, please also drop it in the chat so we can also have an idea of the kind of organization that we have today. And I see very slowly that, yes, people are responding. Great. You see definitely good majority of NGOs, some local organizations as well. Great. I also see quite a lot of activity in the chat, which is great. Wonderful. So we can see that definitely NGOs represent a good number of the people that are here today, but also that we have a really good number of local organizations and networks and also other kinds of organizations. I think please do make sure to also drop it in the chat exactly what kind of also organization you represent, because we really want to make sure that we are, addressing the diversity that we have in the room, because that's going to be really pivotal for us to engage in this debate and to really understand what are some of the commonalities that we have, but also what are maybe some aspects where these different types of actors in civil society can work together on and can enforce through collaboration as well. So that's really positive to see that. Now, I also want to go back to the conversation that we had with Amitabh, our first fireside chat, and have a bit of look at some of the elements and insights that Amitabh really wanted to highlight. So you'll see now a lovely graphic recording of the session. And we really started from understanding the moment, right? How we are now in a really fragmented sector that has been really challenged by funding cuts, as well as attacks on civil society, and with a shrinking civic space. But also we've seen how that has really led us to mobilize more and to really engage with other actors that perhaps previously a lot of organized civil society didn't really engage with. A core element has also been to look at the different roles, and I think Amitabh really provided us with a good overview of some of the different roles that ICSOs, but also other kinds of organized civil society can take, right? I think it challenged us to stop looking at ICSOs as implementers, but think about different roles around supporting communities, around holding state power and governments accountable, also helping with fundraising, and also kind of expanding on some of the visions that we can have for the future, and really moving towards looking at different remits, and also would say move beyond egos and logos, so to speak. And finally, also we heard also from Amitabh about how trust and solidarity have a really key role to play for the future of civil society organizations, and to really make sure that we can remind ourselves of what was the core mission of the work of civil society organizations around promoting solidarity, and also making sure that there is trust with partners. I think we've seen in this virtual room today that we have quite a few different kinds of also organizations and other actors, and we really want to understand how we can make sure that we have this element of trust really embedded in our processes, and how we can cultivate that further, and also making sure that we remain humble in terms of our also impact as well. So now I would like to go back to our Slido to maybe understand a bit more from the people that are joined today around what are some also further ideas, apart from the one that were shared by Amitabh, in terms of how we can collectively support civil society in these very challenging times. So I would kindly ask you to go back to slido.com, and you see now a poll where we're asking about different ways in which we can collectively support civil society, and especially considering the fact that we're living in a very unstable and challenging times. And I think it's a perfect opportunity also to maybe spur a bit more of our thinking around ways that maybe were not discussed recently, because we've seen obviously with the crisis that there were quite a lot of initiatives, right, around how we can collaborate together, how we can make sure that we're joining forces. But are there perhaps other ways that were not really introduced in some of these conversations that maybe were inspired by some of the insights from the fireside chat with Amitabh? Are there ways in which we can expand our thinking and our creativity? I see already quite a few responses, right, around funding, mobilizing our funding, opportunities, really be able to identify synergies around be strategic also around building networks and maybe also strengthening the networks that we already have and looking at strategy as well. I see a lot of good ideas, and it's also fascinating that in this room also with quite a few diversity types of actors, there are still quite a lot of messages around connecting, but also rethinking the way in which we operate, which we have seen is not necessarily always easy. While we continue to also get your responses in the Slido, I would actually like to maybe get maybe one or two reflections for people that are in the virtual room. Is there anyone who would like to maybe expand on something that they put in the slide, or if you have any further suggestions around collective action that you want to share with participants today? If you do so, please just raise your hand, and I think we can take maybe a couple of people. I don't see any raised hand. Okay, now I see. Okay. Yes, so maybe Jamie first and then Mike Sibanda. Please, Jamie. Jamie, would you like to come in? Can you hear us, Jamie?
I can now. You had to unmute me from your end.
Ah, okay. Can we make
Assalamu
sure
alaikum,
that
everybody. Thank you so much. And I was really impressed with the two presentations. I think that it's really important. There's 2 points I'd like to make. One is about the so-called localization agenda, which I think colleague from Oxfam was absolutely right about, saying that we must stop trying to replicate our own organizations and look to local groups, local communities forming their own forms of association, which may not be anything like the sort of the structures that we are used to from our own sort of Western northern point of view. And the second point I'd like to, and I think my experience of that comes from locally led adaptation to climate change, which is a very different viewpoint from just trying to sort of have local organizations run climate adaptation. It really is getting down to the absolute detail of scoping, vulnerability analysis, capacity analysis of the smallest of groups, single villages, whose situations are very different from each other, even from household to household, but definitely from village to village. So the sort of what's facing them in terms of climate vulnerability is going to be very different. They know they know best what they've done in the past. There's indigenous and local knowledge which has to be brought in. The added value of involvement of big organisations is possibly bringing in some of the science, some of the meteorology, some of the projections about what's going to happen in climate, but also possibly facilitating the sort of relationships that these local people have to have with people who can give the capacity in terms of funding primarily. The second point I like to come from the first fireside chat is that the need for real and sincere alignment of values. And I think what's missing from the debate, and is so often missing from these discussions, is the religious and spiritual element. 85% of the world population say that they are aligned to some sort of religious faith. We don't take notice of it in civil society because we are primarily secular and a little bit scared of faith. But I think that this real and sincere values alignment that is absolutely necessary to creating trust is already there for a lot of our organisations. I work for Islamic Relief, and we have a great deal of trust because of our joint spiritual and religious background. I absolutely believe that we should move from the professional, the transactional sort of relationships that we've had as civil society towards solidarity. But I do believe that solidarity, as reflected in the second speaker from New Constellations, is a solidarity around spiritual elements, metaphysical elements, as well as the deep, dark practicalities of dealing with the challenges that people face. I'll stop there. Thank you very much, Miriam.
Thank you, Jim, for your insights and reflection. Mac, would you like to go next? And then we'll move to reflect on the second chat that we had. Mac, can you hear us? You unmuted, it appears. Well, maybe Mac, if you want, you can come in maybe later. Now, maybe Ponsel, if you want, you can come in, and then we'll move to the next reflection. You're muted.
Thank you very much, Miriam, and thanks, Jamie, for your suggestions. And one thing I wanted to contribute to this session, I'm Ponsley from Joko Labs Banjul in the Gambia, an innovation hub that works on technology and also it's not for profit. It's in regards to using, working on co-creation, whereby we have a situation whereby we have organizations in the global south and the global north collaborating within local contexts. You know, I think that is very important because when you collaborate within local context, you understand your issues, you want to portray and how you want to do it. And if we look at the path to the Future Summit last year, during the United Nations General Assembly, there's a lot. If you look at the summit, the summit outcome document, there's a lot on collaboration. And I think there's not more of global, not global South collaboration in the real sense, whereby everybody has equity. Is that one part is doing the money is coming from the global north, and you have to do what you want to do, and you have to give us this and that data. I think that co-creation will make everybody have equal footing and doing things the right way. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ponsalat. Thanks all for your reflections. So now I'd like to go to the conversation that we had with Gemma to comment on some of the ideas that she shared around how the sector can operate differently. So you see now appearing the graphic recording from that session. Also, so that the people in the chat were asking if we're going to share those. Yes, we'll do that after the meeting. You'll find them in the Whova app. So in the conversation with Gemma, we had the opportunity to discuss a bit what are some of the issues with civil society from the micro level around the different roles and how we can engage more with movements, right? We looked out some ideas on approaching a different methodology and also of how we can cultivate more the ability to let go, right? To make sure that we're not so focused still on maintaining the same roles and same power structure that we always had. And we looked at out we can support also the strengthening of local movements and association and really making sure that we can seize those glimmers of hope and of the future and understand different also strategic focus that that we can have with civil society. And I really like how we were able to also link between the two conversations this idea that also as civil society we can develop different visions for ourselves and different visions for the future that are not rooted in some of the same system that we understand that we're not working as well as they could have. And then maybe this difficult time of disruption can also serve as a moment to accelerate some of the changes and really addressing our missions differently. And Now I would like to hear from you also with Slido. So we'll come back to another poll around different narratives and visions that we can have for our work, right? Because we discussed that against some of the forces that are trying to further shrink civic space and really hindering the work that we do. There is also the fact that a lot of these difficult challenges are posed because we are not able to always communicate really well the kind of value that we provide as civil society organizations. So I want to ask this virtual room, what do you think some of the positive narratives are that we can develop and share, and how can we also look maybe at some desirable visions for our work that are rooted in solidarity and some of the other also values and principles that Gemma and Amitabh also talked about. Do we have the opportunity to maybe use this moment to develop some different narratives around our work? And if so, how? So I'd like you to type in some of your answers. And we see quite a few also already coming up. And I would also like to hear from someone in the audience. So I would take perhaps one reflection on this very topic, if anyone wants to share. I already see a hand raised under Africa Transcribe. If you want, you can come in and please share your name as well. You're muted.
Thank you so much. My name is Evans Rubara. I am the lead and founder of Africa Transcribe. We're based in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, but we operate nationally and at the continental level. We basically work with artisanal small-scale miners and their communities. Now, when we think about partnerships and we think about how we could actually strengthen one another, I think that my 20-year plus experience in the civil society organizations landscape in Africa particularly informs me that we need what I would term as equal empowerment opportunity, because there has been a little bit of lopsided kind of perspective on how the NGOs or civil societies in the North are actually relating to the civil societies in the South. And I think that when we were talking, when the first session was going on, and I saw that people think that the move by Oxfam to bring their headquarters in Nairobi and the UN moving to Nairobi are things that actually are moves that would actually empower us in the South. I beg to differ, because this is like a scramble for finances. Oxfam wants to keep its stronghold. Why should it come to Nairobi, or in East Africa, where it has actually empowered a lot of partners for so many years? Why can't they remain where they are and actually try to see how they can channel funding to these organizations, so that organizations in the South are actually independent? So there is a level of lopsided empowerment and undercutting of the power of the other person, or the agency of the other person or the other organizations to actually realize their full potential. So you'd find that civil society organizations in the South are actually still remaining to be beggars of what Oxfam would do, as opposed to what we can do in the partnership. So you find that we are reporting more to Oxfam than actually reporting to our own people, our own constituency in our countries. So I think that we need to actually break that narrative and make sure that these narratives are grounded on the needs of the people in the South. So, I've been in this landscape for some years. I'm young, but I've been in the landscape for some years. And one of the quotes that I love when I'm working as a civil society representative is from Lila Watson, who said, if you have come to help me, you're wasting your time. But if you have come cognizant of the fact that my liberation or my well-being is tied to yours, then come so that we can work together. And fortunately, we are not holding that up. Unfortunately, even today in this discussion, we're still thinking about how the North can actually help the South. We are not thinking about the richness of knowledge that both of us can actually get from one another. And while I know that this is not a very famous, particularly good opinion which everybody is actually going to hold on to, but I believe that in a way or in a landscape where we are actually going to deal with each other as equals who actually fight towards the same mission, I don't think that even the move such as Oxfam moving to Nairobi is helpful. Actually, it actually continues what I would term as CSO, civil society, or international NGO colonization, neo-colonization in Africa. So I think that I'll leave it there. But then there is a question that I wanted to ask, and actually asked it in the chat box. The civil society landscape, the definition that was given by our friend who came first, seems to actually revolve around NGOs, international NGOs. I have actually established what we call what is known as a social enterprise. Where does social enterprise fall? Because in many cases, we have seen NGOs actually failing the people. But then we see that there are impact investments or, what I would call social enterprise ventures, which are actually more impactful in communities. Where are, in terms of the broader definition of a civil society organizations, where are the social enterprise? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for these reflections, also provocations. I think it's, I've seen also a lot of reactions to that. So I think it resonated. And we've seen also in the slide, though, quite a lot of also answers around that we can develop different narratives and also be more critical, right, around work to then look at more equitable visions for ourselves that are more aligned to what the communities really want. So thank you all. Now we'll have to wrap up this session. Before we close, I will kindly ask you to give us feedback on the session that we had today. It's really important for us to make sure that we have your feedback to make sure that our offer is as relevant as possible and useful also for your work. So, and you see now the poll coming up, so please make sure to fill it in before you leave. And I would really like to thank you all for being so engaged today, for joining this first session. I would also like to thank Amitabh and Jama for sharing the insights and giving us this thought-provoking also conversations, as well as also our graphic recorder, Pauline, for supporting us with the graphic recording. As I mentioned, you will be able to find the graphic recording in the Whova app, so you can check those directly in the app. And there you'll also find the final graphic recording of this session. And I think we had a lot of really good also calls to actions today around engaging differently. We can also build more collaboration and really embrace solidarity at the very core. And also we heard a lot around how we can actually shift power and be more decolonial in our partnerships. In terms of next steps, you'll also receive a recording of today's session. And there will also be a follow-up from the center on this session. So we're just wrapping up today because then we have also still tomorrow and Thursday with a lot of really interesting panel debates and discussions. So tomorrow we start at 2 p.m. Central European Time with a session on the perspectives on civil society future. We're looking at different ways in which civil space can be protected and strengthened, and also how we can engage in shaping resilient democracies. And then we'll also look at positive narratives, as we started already today with some experts around building public trust and connections. And then we'll have on Thursday as well a lot more engaging sessions. So make sure to add those to your agenda on the Uba app. So thanks again for joining today. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow on Thursday and at the next center events. Thanks all. Goodbye.